Hello everybody, welcome to another fantastic episode of Distilled, Brewed, and Reviewed. My name is John. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to my world famous sipping den. On this channel I do everything that has anything to do with alcohol, and I do a world famous Sunday morning coffee review. And to keep it all easy for you to find, I have the best, I mean the best, and it's easy to prove, you just have 2 seconds to check it out, playlist on YouTube. The best. And attached, well, every comment I pin, because attached to it is a link to whatever I'm reviewing. In this case, there's going to be 2 links, one for bourbon and one for rye. This is interesting, this is fun, and I'm excited about it. I have done a review of Wild Turkey Rare Breed Bourbon, and I have done a separate review of Wild Turkey Rare Breed Rye. Right now, I'm going to do a side-by-side and just describe the difference. I'm not going to get into too much detail about each one, so I've already done that. But what's the differences? It's the exact same ingredients, just at a different level. The rye is 51% rye, 37% corn, 12% malted barley. 37% corn if it was reversed and it was a bourbon, and it had 37% rye, it would be an extremely high rye mash bill. This is extremely high corn mash bill. The bourbon, 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% barley. Same thing. The bourbon is 116.8 proof. The rye is 112.2. That's within 4 percentage points of each other, which is basically negligible. Bottles are the same as far as it's the exact same bottle. Obviously, the rye, as per usual, has green and always denotes rye. Other than that, everything else is the same. For more details about these whiskeys, go to the individual reviews of them. Now I just want to compare them. I'm kind of excited to do it. I think it's a cool little experiment. Just as a side note, the rye was lent to me by Jeff. And if you watch this channel at all, and you watch any of these bourbon reviews, you know that Jeff is a big contributor to this channel. He's also a personal friend of mine. He was a friend of mine long before the channel. But he loves the channel. He's a supporter of the channel. So here's the rye. And we're going to do the bourbon. And here's the color of them. I think they're pretty much the same. Alright. Are you excited? I am. But then I'm the nerd that way, right? This is what I'd love to do. This to me is extremely fun. So. Alright. Here's the rye. Here's the bourbon. Extreme difference. More than I would have thought. I don't say it's extreme, but it's oh yeah. It's funny. The bourbon has a little more wood smell to it. Now I know the bourbon off the top of my head was 6, 8, and 12 year bourbon mix. I don't know what the rye was. 6, 8, and 12 years is going to pull out some wood taste and smell. Sweet, caramel. I get some citrus on the bourbon. Here I am getting more of the rye smell, the more of the rye bread smell, as opposed to the corn. Still got, it's a high corn. There's a lot of corn in here. I mean, I've had a lot of ryes that are 95% rye, 100% malted rye, right? It's only 51. That's the bare minimum to be rye. It has to be at least 51% rye, and they just did that. Not as sweet, not as woody, more spicy. Still getting, I'm getting dried fruit out of this, out of the rye. The bourbon, I'm getting more of a citrus. To me, they're both extremely pleasing. Go figure. All right, we'll do the rye first. I'm already acclimated. It's not my first whiskey of the day. The rye is sweeter than I thought it would have been. It's got initial sweetness that's fantastic. Let's compare the sweetness of the bourbon. The bourbon's sweeter. Slightly, the rye still got a nice sweetness to it. The bourbon, again, has more of a wood influence, absolutely. In this case, in these batches. That honey and that rye is fantastic. And more of a brown sugar. It's a different type of sweetness. The wood, again, on the after taste of the bourbon. Let's go for the spiciness. Which one is more spicy? Which one should be more spicy? Is the rye. But the barrel, you know, there's a lot of things that go into this. There's definitely some black pepper involved in this. And cinnamon. Bourbon doesn't really have the black pepper. And now, because I said cinnamon, I seem to be getting some cinnamon, but nowhere near the cinnamon, the black pepper, the jalapeno pepper, more of a fresh green pepper, black pepper, cinnamon, honey, coming from the rye. Bourbon has some bacon spices. You know what bacon spice? Cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, that type of stuff. A little strong in the rye, which is it should be. Would I be able to know these blind? No, I don't think so. I don't know. I might not have done it, but if I hadn't done it, or if you just give me one, say is it a bourbon or a rye, I think I would guess the bourbon. I might be thrown off by the rye because although I'm telling you about the spiciness, a lot of bourbons are that way, and it has a sweetness that I wasn't expecting, and I know what it is, so that taints me now. I wouldn't be surprised if I thought that the Breed Rye blind tasting was a bourbon, maybe a high rye bourbon. All right, maybe I would say that. I hope. I don't know what I would say, but I can see where I would definitely be fooled. Yeah. It's not a big deal. But this is not a typical rye. Now, if you're used to a 95% rye, 5% malted barley, which is MGP, this is 51% rye. A lot of corn. This is not the same profile. It's a big deal. I'll tell you, honestly, if I had to pick which one I like better at this particular moment, with these particular two bottles, I would say the rye, believe it or not, because I like the flavor profile coming out of there. I love this. Okay, the bourbon's delicious. It's fantastic. Just a little bit of wood, more wood than I want. The rye, it's more muted. I'm getting more of the flavors. The other one, I'm getting more of the barrel. So it's just a personal thing. Not a big deal. I love them both. I've loved them for a long time. You know, so interesting comparison. This is fun. And off camera, or maybe even on camera, I might do some blinds. I do blinds with friends and stuff, and I have them down here at the sipping den. We fool around, we have fun. We just test our taste buds and really just try and expand our horizons, listen to what other people have to say. I pick up this, I pick up that. They pick up something, hopefully. Because a lot of my friends are, not all of them, but they're all into bourbon, the ones that I come down here and drink here. A lot of them are in the business. Every time I pick up something I didn't know, and I love that. Sometimes I even teach them something they didn't know, which is crazy. Very nice, very interesting. That was a really nice comparison right there. If you've never done that, if you have both of these, you get your hands on it, you do that comparison, you might start building that palate and now we're getting to the nitty gritty. Now we're 51%, not 95, that's easier to do. 51, can you pick out, if you do this long enough, and you do enough of these comparisons, you just get good at it. I mean, by accident, you're thinking about it, you're talking about it. And it really, there's so much. There's the 95, there's different mash bills, and there's so much. It does take years. There's things that in this whiskey world that I am pretty proficient in, and other things that are not as much. I review everything. I'll probably never be in everything because it took years and years to get to the 3 or 4 things that I'm pretty good at. Thousands of samples, years of study, and talking and being in the industry. I probably don't have really to get that way and the other. I do my research. I've got a half decent palate for everything. But there's certainly certain categories that people are a lot better than I am. I give it the best I can do on this stuff. I have, drank every kind of category. Some I know more and like better than others, but I do them all. I'm very proficient in wines and beers. Anyway, this is fun. This is how you build your palate. This is an interesting thing to do with people and talk about it and pick up different things and listen to what they're saying. So if you've never done this, it's a cool thing to do. I'm glad I did this today. This is very exciting for me. And I got a million things, if you look back here, that I can do, comparisons on. And I'm excited about it. This could be endless, but it's what I do sometimes. I just have fun then. A lot of times I'm not on the camera. I can't do everything on the camera. But I'm always working on my palate. I'm always working on interesting ideas. And this one I thought I would share with you. So from this Distilled Bourbon Review, thank you for being here, and I'll see you on the next one.